The topics that we're going to explore through film this week. All right. We got a list.
Okay.
Police brutality, stop and frisk. We could put those both together.
All right.
Police brutality.
How about we take some perspective and then we think of some resolution or
Okay.
something of that nature.
Okay, stop being brutal.
Yeah, it's pretty easy.
This is the thing. When I watch these situations and I watch, you're dealing with human beings, right?
Right.
If there's a socket, when you want to fix that socket, right?
Mm-hmm.
You don't just put your tools into the socket,
Right.
because there's electricity, there's an electric current. You turn off the power in the house, and that makes it a safer situation for you to go forward. So that's setting up a process to make the process less lethal and less dangerous, right? So when we look at policing and we look at people who are trying to effect an arrest, never have I seen a police officer use abrasive, aggressive language in that de-escalate a situation.
Right.
That makes a person more compliant. Ever. I've never seen that. That makes a person less nervous.
Right.
Never seen that. Because nervousness could be, apparently some people look at nervousness as guilt.
Right.
So none of those things happen when you're yelling and multiple people are shouting different directions to you. And never have I seen when 5 or 6 individuals pile on an individual, they even affect that arrest fast. Because if, in my mind, if you're going to use 6 men should be able to do it faster, but they can't. Why? Because we're not all in unison.
Right.
I'm considering you to resist arrest, but the only reason why you're pulling away is because my partner is pulling your arm the other way.
Right.
That is not resisting. That is, you guys are affecting the arrest wrong.
Right.
You don't need 5 people to pile on. And guess what? If you put your knee in my back and it hurts, my natural imperative is to move. Mm-hmm. You put your knee in the back of a person's head. It's not necessary when you're holding their arms. It does nothing. It does nothing. Because I can't shoot you with my mouth.
Right.
So you putting your knee in the back of my head does nothing but create more of a tense situation. Mm-hmm. My adrenaline is increasing. Therefore, my muscles are expanding. And that's why you're getting this natural resistance to me putting my hands behind my back.
Right. I think that we have this these blurred lines of what necessary force means.
Yes.
And it's a real difficult position to be in when I feel like one of their biggest training tools is this idea of the need to have a certain level of control.
Yes.
Like they're always.
Yeah.
And one of my biggest things is I feel like patience and understanding is 2 of the things that you need. I'll tell you right now, the amount of times that I've seen videos where someone is drawing a gun, but the person is running away. Like,
yes,
if someone is running away,
yeah,
I'm almost certain that, like, at this point, a lot of the cases that we've seen, recent or regardless of, or the guy who was in Colorado and doing whatever in his yard, and
they came in the yard and shot him up.
So my biggest thing is, if you're gonna run his name, why don't you wait? Or if you need Central to check the records of this house to verify, like, for what reason will you escalate the situation to cause it to have this sort of tension?
Yes.
Like, if someone's running away and you're waiting for backup, why do you feel the need to stop the person who's running away? As long as everybody knows where this person is at and going, I'm going to wait for these other 10 people to show up so that then we have a much better ability to control the situation.
Everybody wants to be a hero.
Right. And it's just the amount of times that something like this happens where, okay, they're trying to get someone is down. I don't know if I sent you the video where they're on top of the person who has mental health issues and they're keeping their hands underneath them and they're trying to.
I think you said that. I think that's the most recent.
Right. So why are we not patient in trying to handle this situation
First
differently
of all, if the pressure of four men on
on
top
top?
of your body, you're increasing the weight by
Right.
4 times. Of course, you can't get his hands from under him.
Right.
This is just natural understanding of science and body movement, and just intelligence has to come into play. And a lot of people don't have intelligence, and it doesn't get taught in a lot of police stations. And if the problems is happening in the big cities like LA and New York, and those are going to have generally the best training and the resources for the best training.
Right.
Therefore, you know it's not happening in a lot of these police departments. You're increasing the weight. You guys get the fuck off that side.
Right.
We'll all get the arm. Sir, pass me. Stop. But all of y'all yelling is only making the situation tense.
Right.
One of you, listen, if you do any Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, any martial arts, you don't need all of those people's weights.
Right.
All you need is weight and position, because to hold a person's back down does not require 500 pounds when they're on their stomach. It only requires center of balance and a little bit of weight. Because if their whole body is 150, they cannot move 250
Right.
positioned on their back. That's it. And then you can easily get the other arm and then transition to getting the other arm. Those tactics require patience,
Right.
which may only be a couple of more other seconds. When has punching a person ever made them release their arms?
Right.
When has punching, if you're trying to get a person's arms to handcuff them, why would punching them make them not want to cover their face? It's a natural human imperative that does not make sense. It goes against every natural order of being a human being, but we look at it as, oh, that person resisted, so they need to be punched in the face. Police brutality is outrageous. The aggression, the level of aggression is unnecessary because it doesn't make the situation better. And you know what? No one should be able to be charged with resisting arrest and not be charged with the crime. If you're innocent of the crime, you're innocent of resisting arrest. That is my stance that I will always stand by, because if I effected a wrong arrest, then I have the legal right to resist. Even if it's passively. The only people we want to make in the environment safe for is the police officer.
Right.
I'm in danger when I'm being arrested, especially wrongfully.
I think it's even worse, especially when we know that whoever's being questioned doesn't have a weapon.
Yes, super worse.
The only person who's bringing a weapon to this situation is the police officer.
The only person who's bringing a weapon, who's bringing trained in hand-to-hand combat, the only person who's supposed to be trained in de-escalation tactics, the only professional for sure that's supposed to be there is the police officer.
Right.
And they're acting unprofessionally.
Honestly, I would recommend, like, as a new policy, as let's say that I'm a police officer and I'm coming to arrest you or whatever the case is.
Yeah.
The first, like, if I know that it's getting to a certain point, the first thing I'm gonna say is, hey, if you want, you can call your lawyer right now. We can work this out, but you're going down to the precinct. Like, this is exactly what's gonna happen.
That's it.
There's no, we can't bargain right now because
Yes.
this is exactly what's happening. We know this is happening.
Yes.
Like, I feel like that exact situation where it's just like, all right, these are your options. I'm letting you know what your best options are because
Yes.
this is going to happen.
Yes.
Why are we not doing like something along those lines? I hate the whole like, right, put your hands behind your back, like this,
Yes.
that, and the other. Like, if it is for the community and we are trying to believe that people are rational, like, what happened to the idea that, like, if you're a police officer, the number one thing that all police officers are brave. Why are you not brave enough to be objective?
You're supposed to be brave.
Right.
They're not all brave.
But it's such a tough thing when you have, and I mean, like, I understand there's a shortage of there's a shortage of cops in most areas.
But there's only a shortage because we're focusing their energy on things they should not be focusing
Right.
on. Why are they pulling people over?
Right. We spoke about this before. You told me that police is the only civil service job where they're going out looking for stuff. Like, there's not firefighters looking for fires. There's
No.
not, like, this is one thing in which the idea of safety is that there are crimes always happen. I don't like that idea.
But you understand that policing is the fire department is it's objective. It's not subjective. That shit is on fire.
Right.
You understand what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
But we have people who are creating this idea of when you start looking for crime, now you're trying to look and see if crime is happening. Now someone has to create the idea of what does it look like when crime is happening.
Right.
And no one can actually explain what it looks like when a crime is happening, except a person has a gun and the person just got shot. That is a crime. Or a person is saying no and a man is on top of them with their penis inside of them. That is a crime. But other than that, everything looks, you don't know what a crime looks like when it's about to happen, when it's going to happen, or when it's coming up. There is no way to really determine that. So we need to remove police officers from attempting to determine that.
No, but I'm from New York. I know how we can find crime. I know exactly how we can find crime.
Oh, because it's in a certain area.
Yeah,
We have statistics on that.
we can police this area and we can stop and frisk people.
We can stop and frisk people.
Just because you look like you could.
Were you in New York during stop and frisk?
The first few years, I want to say.
I had my experience with stop and frisk, but it wasn't like I was randomly stopped in the street. It was going into the train station.
Oh, really?
And I didn't even interpret that as stop and frisk. It was Jamaica Center, and before you can get through the turnstile, they stop you right in front. They would, because I mean, if you know Jamaica Center, you know it's all
Right.
black people anyway, all black and brown people. So it's like, oh, take all your stuff, blah blah blah. You got any weapons? And people understand that I believe the numbers are staggering. It's like 90-something% of all stops. The only thing that they found, if they found something, 90% of the time was some weed. So you understand that their true intention was really only to find like a little bit of narcotics to lock somebody up. Because they still locked you up for that. They said, we looking for guns. We looking for knives.
'Cause you know
Guns and
everybody's
knives.
You know, everybody's always carrying.
Oh, everybody's always carrying guns and knives.
Yeah.
Now, if you've been to Jamaica Center, you understand that most people are just trying to get to fucking work.
Yep.
That's it. In school.
Whether you're
They're not looking around. They don't give a hell what's going on. They're trying to get to work and to school. Mm-hmm. And maybe peppered in the crowd, there's somebody with the gun. But guess who always has the gun?
police.
Police.
Yeah.
Stop and frisk. And it was unsuccessful.
Very.
They've actually done all the statistics on it. They really almost never found anything. When they did find it, they were finding knives. And it wasn't that the person had a knife, because in New York, they have very interesting knife laws. Mm-hmm. And if the knife does a certain thing or slings out a certain way, if a police officer, I believe, you can't have a flickable knife.
Right.
But
you can't have a flickable knife.
if you had a regular knife and the police officer can actually flick it out himself with whatever strength he needs to flick it out in whatever odd way, you'll be charged as if you had an outrageous type of weapon. And it wasn't guns that they were finding, ladies and gentlemen.
Let me tell you the story how we had these 2-inch daggers.
Little daggers.
Because we thought it was a little knife from Chinatown or whatever. So for the fact that it's bladed on both sides, it's considered just as bad as a flickable knife.
Get the fuck out of here.
Arrested 2 people from school.
Get out of here.
15-year-olds. Crazy. I'm just like, all right, well. But look, let me do one better than that. I know a way in which we can get these people who we just got with these flickable knives. We could get them in jail for maybe longer, maybe confess to a crime that we have. For anybody who has seen these shows or First 48 or we'll talk about the Reed technique.
The
Reed
Reed
method?
technique. There is actual technique of what happened in the interrogation in the film When They See Us.
Right.
And it has been outlawed, and it was outlawed because it was considered ineffective and inhumane. What they would do is they would sleep deprive you, leave you in the room, sleep deprive you, and won't give you food. And what happens when you're starving and sleep deprived, more importantly, because you can go starving, but when you're sleep deprived, your biological imperative is just to rest and to eat. So you will submit to a lot of things you wouldn't submit if you were full energy.
Right.
And they did this Reed technique, and that's how they coerced these confessions out of these boys,
Right.
by sleep depriving them. This is, first of all, this is shit they do on Homeland, people.
Yeah.
They doing it on, they do on Homeland to terrorists. And even in that, the rules of engagement, a lot of that shit is outlawed. Because they cannot trust the information that comes from it. Because if you torture a terrorist, the reason why you can't torture a person who's suspected of terrorism, besides the fact that it's just plain old wrong, because you don't know, is the fact that the information will probably be inaccurate.
They're willing to say anything and everything.
They're willing to say
stop
anything and
to
everything.
stop
Just stop.
Right.
Just stop badgering me. Stop asking me about this lady. I don't know the lady. You asked me the question 70 times. I don't know. 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 At that point, at the 15th time, I know you want me to say that I know her.
Right.
I know you want me to say it was a white lady. I know you already told me she was a jogger. So, how did they know the information they wanted to say? Because you already told me where was the jogger. You've already implanted that in my mind.
Right. And we during this, when we see the boys get picked up, we don't find out till later that the interrogations didn't even start till 24 hours after they were picked
24 hours after they were picked up.
All day.
We understand that a little bit more with Corey because that's why he was sleeping.
Right.
It wasn't just like a little bit in. They just had him there. Just had him there. Because originally they rounded a bunch of them up from a situation that had nothing to do with it. Because they were just there. Because they arrested them in the park and they were just going to go to family court. All right. So the Reed method, look it up. All right. I put down the question of so we talked about what is justice.
Yes.
And we talked about the prison system.
Yes.
And my feeling on the prison system, it needs to be abolished. I don't know what we're going to replace it with. But I don't think that the imperative of replacement is as strong as people think.
I want you to see if you can look up some Scandinavian
Scandinavian.
prisons. Yeah. They have...
like in Denmark.
Yeah. They have some prison systems that are...
where they kind of free to just walk around and
For the ones like you said, nonviolent offenders.
Yes.
They're not locked up. They're not this. They have their own parameters and stuff. It's just the absence of liberties is the punishment. You are rehabilitating the person so that they can actually adjust to society.
Yes.
But, we live in America, so we live in the Wild Wild West.
And there's money to be made in prisons.
Right. I mean, there's so many private prisons out there. Why would we actually run our own? You know?
Why? Why would we?
But
But we need private prisons because free enterprise. So if somebody builds something, then anytime somebody wants to sell something, no matter what it is, we should allow to do it.
Right.
Nukes, prisons, whatever.
So if it's a private prison, if we're rehabilitating the population, it just makes sense that eventually they'll close down, right? But if it's a business, that means that you have to keep those beds full, those cells
Obviously.
full. So
and market it. How do you market the business?
You really don't want people to rehabilitate, I guess. But again, that's just me. I could be wrong.
Yeah, we totally could be wrong. We're just loose cannons. All right, so we spoke about solitary confinement. Good people. I wrote down the term good people, and I put it with a question mark because I think we have to redefine, the understanding of good people. In a lot of these situations, you see these police officers, Linda, all these people who are in the justice system, who carried out this miscarriage of justice. I doubt that their families would be like, she's a bitch. She's a horrible person. They might
Right.
say, I love my dad. He plays baseball with me. He's been at every game.
Right.
Been at every game. He showed me nothing but love. But obviously, your dad, outside of his family network, is a disgusting human being.
Right.
A disgusting human being. So the idea of good people should not be subjected to the understanding of how good you act to your family or your wife or your mother or your father. Is how do you react to a person who isn't you, who has no relation to you, who does not look like you? How do you react to them in the totality of the humans you come in contact with? Before you can get that moniker of a good person, the totality of the humans you come in contact with. What is that net effect? What do they all think about you? Because this idea of good people because your dad kissed you on the head and dropped you off to school means nothing when every day he was going to work, he was rallying up boys and putting them in jail wrongfully.
Right. No, the important part is that, like I said, with me, every kid who's my son's age is like my kid.
Yes.
I look at every child as if they could be mine. So
Yes.
you have to go around. Everybody who I come in contact with can be a brother, cousin,
Yep.
father, uncle, father, grandfather, so on and so forth. We live in a world where everyone, the idea of being human should be first and foremost.
Yep.
As a whole, you want to progress, not
Yeah.
just as the individual. So it's real difficult to see when people are just like, especially if you know the system is wrong. It'd be different if I was like, all right, well,
Yeah.
I'm going to go become a district attorney and I'm going to try to be as successful as I can. No, I know what it takes to be successful.
Yes,
But what
that's
does
the
it
problem.
take to be different? What does it take to
be different?
make the system better?
Yes.
Do you have to lay in your sword sometimes? Do you have to sacrifice sometimes? Do you have to compromise
Yes.
sometimes? Yes. You will have to be different to show others how to be different.
You won't see many people sacrificing in our system because our system is so connected between if you sacrifice, you probably won't be able to live your life, not even comfortably, but at all successfully because it requires so much money to live in our society. So and once we start extracting that imperative need for people to live and survive, then you'll see a lot more people stepping out.
Right.
You'll see a lot more people stepping out. Now, another thing I wrote down was there's a brand called Humanize Being Black. I don't even know if it's around. It's like a T-shirt company, and it was like just a phrase that really, really touched me, because one thing you notice is the words that they use to describe these boys in the papers when they were doing these cases: animals, vicious, wild. They try to make everything seem so animalistic, and the choice of words are so significant because I can't have any empathy for someone who I don't even think is like me. Because if I call myself a human, I call you animal, we're obviously different. But if I call you human and me human, I have to see myself in you and you in me. So when we take these words and we describe, that's why I can't use any other word. That's why in a lot of communities, especially in the urban communities, it's like, yo, bro, that's my brother. That's my brother. There's a level of respect that comes from that. When I call you my brother, a person who I don't even know. Because I'm now saying that we are one. We are connected in some way. When we say we are all human, we are connected in some way. There's there's a DNA that we all share of the way we're created. And so now I see you and me and you. And then I look at the choices that I make differently and the choices that you make differently. But when I start to call you a bitch, a nigga, an animal, a gorilla, when I start describing you using those descriptive words that disconnect you, they start slicing away at your humanity, then I can do these vicious things to you. Every time something vicious has been done, I'm pretty sure no one's ever called someone a human being before they did it. I'ma rape that bitch.
Mm-hmm.
I'ma kill that nigga. When people were hanging, when they were watching people work in the fields, when they were raping our mothers, they were niggas, not humans. They refused to call them humans. We've got to bring humanity back. We've got to start looking at each other as humans. We all have our flaws. We all have our struggles on this journey. But once you start stripping away, you start using these words other than humans, other than words that connect and combine us all together, communities. Even in bigger picture, we start to disconnect. Oh, you're French, you're American, you're Canadian. We start to disconnect.
Whatever we can do to
The
separate
fuck is that? It's
everybody.
landmass.
Mm-hmm.
I've never looked down on a piece of soil and seen America etched in any of this shit.
Mm-hmm.
How do we know? It's just descriptors. We are all one. Black, brown, white, yellow, red. We all one. We all human beings. And when we look at each other as all one, then we're operating together as one. But once we start using those descriptors to separate, no matter what a person has done, once you start using those descriptors to separate, then we shed a slice of person's humanity. It's easy to throw them in a solitary confinement cell and just let them fucking rot.
The more labels we could apply to people, that's what we do.
That's what we do. Remove the labels. If you won't call yourself that, don't call it. Don't put that on another person.
Right.
If you're not a bitch, don't call her a bitch, him a bitch. Don't do it. Operate with love. Love is the only equalizer. That's my feeling on
I feel you, player.
humanizing people. All right, so, I mean, this only begs the question, watching those 4 parts. People going to solitary confinement, kids going into jail, coming out as men and trying to readjust. I could only think about their mental health.
Right.
I can only think about this journey that they are on currently, because we're all on our own mental health journey, but this journey that they're on and how difficult that has to be to work through this,
Right.
to work through what they experienced. This trauma. And trauma is open for interpretation because we all experience some form of trauma.
Mm-hmm.
Us living in New York City and experiencing stop and frisk and having stop and frisk around us and living in the climate of people who we know have been shot wrongfully and people who have been jailed wrongfully creates a sense of trauma around you.
Right.
You operate differently. You're not as free. Your parents are putting more things in place and more parameters on your life so that you survive. That's called anxiety.
Yep.
We live with anxiety. These men are living with anxiety based off of their experiences, watching their back while they're in prison, trying to stay alive. When you're out here and you're free and you cross the street, you may only be worried about, oh, okay, no cars crossing, fine, I'm fine, I'm safe. But imagine being in a facility not knowing who might stab you,
Right.
who might try to fight you, kill you, rape you. That level of anxiety is just intense.
And to take it to another level is, I think that, you know how we deal with people in a whole, as far as people who deal with anxiety in itself. Imagine we live, minorities in a whole have cultural anxiety.
Culturally.
Like it's just, so when someone else is like, oh, like why would you, like I remember today I was leaving a little shopping complex, and I see the cop car in front of Walgreens. I'm like, let
Yeah.
me make sure I got my seatbelt on. I'm doing
Yes.
this. Let me there's I could clearly drive through the parking lot
Yes.
to come around. I'm like, let me reverse out my spot
Yes.
so I don't do anything wrong.
Yes.
And I look at the person driving the exact same car as me,
Yep.
and they pull right through the parking lot.
Of
And I'm
course
just
they do.
like,
Yeah.
you know that I'm just being safe because I have anxiety right now
Yes.
because I don't know if I do something wrong, would it be held against me for some reason?
Yes.
You know? And people don't quite understand that realization that there's cultural anxiety. Like there's certain things that people feel being around certain atmospheres.
Yes.
And it's a tough place where people can't understand it because they can't feel it. They've never lived it, and no matter how you explain it, they're not gonna quite get it.
You
know?
don't live it until you lived it. It happened to me a couple of years ago. I don't even know if I shared this with you. I started to decide to start working out. I said, Justin, you get yourself together. You're going to start working out.
Mm-hmm.
I started jogging around my community. You know where I used to live. I was living near Ashmont. Pretty nice area.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty nice area. In that area, a little over Shortdale, just so you can get a little interesting, whatever. I'm jogging early in the morning. Got on jogging situation. My headphones. Sometimes I would leave with my wallet, maybe not. I'm jogging. I'm doing this. It's called couch potato to 5K. So basically, you run and then you walk for a little bit. You run and you walk for a little bit. And then they extend the running, decrease the walking. And what I would do is I'm like, okay, if I turn around halfway, I'll be back home.
Right.
So instead of going all the way out, then I got to walk all the way back when my workout is done. So boom, I'm like, all right. So I kind of was doing like regular routes, and I said, you know what? I don't really know my community, so maybe I'll start going down some other streets because I've never seen it from the walking perspective.
Right.
So boom, I'm doing my thing. I'm on the main street, Gallivan Boulevard. Social anxiety. I ignored it. I'm like, this is Main Street, whatever. See a police car on the other side of the road. It's going down this way. Cool, whatever. Boom, boom, boom. Hear the alarm. Okay, time to turn back around. Turn back around. Boom, start running the other way. And I'm like, oh, I've never been down this street. I go down the street. Now I'm running. I'm like, oh, all right. I've never been down the street over by Ashmont. And so then I go up this hill. It's like the last hill, almost going up to my house. There's a school right at the top of the hill. Mm-hmm. I'm listening to my music. I think I got some ratchet shit on. I'm just like, I'm trying to stay pumped or whatever. And whoop, whoop. Now, this is a small street. You know how the small streets that have parking on both sides, but it's really only enough one car down the middle. Whoop, whoop. I'm on the sidewalk. Police car, pull up this way. Boom. I'm like, the car, I can see the corner up there. Police car, whoop, whoop. Pull up this way. I'm like, what the fuck is going on? Guy gets out. Tall white guy, glasses, whatever. He's not yelling or anything.
Right.
Puts his hand out. Stop for me, sir. I'm like, oh, okay. Take off my headphones. I'm like, what the fuck is going on? In my head, I'm like, what is going on? And he's like, how you doing today, sir? You got ID on you. You fit. I'm like, you fit a description. I'm like, okay. I'm like, okay, well, my ID is in my pocket. I motion to point at my pocket. I'm like, can I get my ID? He's like, go ahead. And as I'm taking out the ID, I'm like, okay, say something, don't say something. I'm like, officer, it's very interesting that I'm being stopped right now. Now, I'm tensed up right now because I'm running. I was already running. And now I'm like, what the fuck is going on? My anxiety is high. I'm like, sir, it's interesting how I'm being stopped right now. And all I was doing was jogging. All I'm doing is jogging in my community. He looks at my ID. If he's been in the area, he could tell that I live right around the corner, just by the name of the street. And he looks at me. Now, mind you, I'm looking at everything. It's almost like a movie because you kind of see it starts to slow down. I see the young lady officer, and she's at the corner, like holding the corner as if I may be a runner. And her hand is on her hip. Mm-hmm. Now, he looks like he might be teaching another officer, and she's kind of stepped back, but she's there. And he's like, you're jogging? And I'm like, yeah. Now, mind you, I have on headphones, ugly white headphones. I got on sweatpants, and I have on New Balance sneakers. Nobody Wears New Balance sneakers. Unless it's a imperative because I got flat fucking feet.
Right.
So I needed to run. I decided to invest in some New Balance sneakers. Just looking at that combination of clothing would just like, in the time of day, he had in his mind, there's no way. After he seen me jogging. Now I put two and two together. Now, when he was pulling up his car, he had to have seen me jogging. Now, what he says is, and this is maybe out of order, he says, well, we got a call. Someone saw a guy run down the street and run back up it again. Mm-hmm. You fit the description. I obviously fit the description because I was that guy. I was the guy who, I didn't say that, but I ran up the street and ran back down because I'm jogging. But I wasn't running from you. What self-centered shit is that?
Right.
I can't just run. I like, that's the anxiety that people live with, is I was doing a regular fucking thing.
Right.
There was joggers all around me. All around me in Ashmont. There's people who are jogging all the time at night. Imagine if this was at night.
Right. What
would you think I've been doing at night? In the daytime, you can't fucking jog in the community. And then he goes to lie. Now I'm looking at this guy, and in my mind, I'm like, he's probably a regular nice guy. Because he wasn't even yelling. He was cordial. But he was impeding on my rights in a cordial way. He said, well, the young kids, they do crimes and they wear stuff like this. Dog, I had on some ugly Old Navy sweatpants with New Balance sneakers, and I think I had on a camo hoodie because I was trying to I had on a tight workout undershirt, and I wanted to sweat under it with headphones. There was nothing about that was urban. There was nothing about that was present, that was at that time, that was any. And if I was a kid, it's a school right up here.
Right.
If I was a kid, you were stopping a kid on the way to school. So it was the lies that came after that, after he knew that he was wrong. And I looked at his SUV, and it obviously, all cop SUVs look the same because they obviously are the same SUV. But it's very interesting to me because I think that was him.
Right.
I think it was him that looped around, because when I turned around, I turned up another street. He probably was looking for me at that time, or called in for backup. He called in for backup.
Right.
For a person who did not commit a crime, who he had no idea of committing a crime, because he thought I might run. Now, what about me made him think that I might be a criminal, have committed a crime, might be committing a crime, or run away from him?
Right. So,
besides the color of my skin.
So let me tell you what my problem is.
Yeah.
And you could tell me if maybe you got it, or maybe if it was maybe a little off. But this is my problem with it. Let's say that Officer Joe Schmo is actually a good officer, right?
Good officer. Let's go.
And he did get a call.
Yes.
But this means that the person who called is the person who's at fault.
The person who called is the person at fault.
And now the lies are coming at the end because he's trying to rectify a situation where he realizes the fault, but he can't do nothing about the call.
He can't do nothing about it.
And that's tough too, but now it's just but now you have two areas where there's a problem, but you don't know where to start. Like if he's just using someone made a call because he needs an excuse.
Yes.
Or if someone actually made a call, but now he's the one who has to carry out the community's call,
Yes.
And it's like you're at a fault where
I don't think it was any call. It would have happened too fast in the amount of time. I literally think it was him in the SUV, and he thought me going up the block and turn around was somehow running away from a police officer, which I'm not under arrest. But also the thing is, not at one moment did he think, well, maybe that guy's just jogging.
Right.
So there was something that shut off just common sense things that turned into a heightened sense of, I need to investigate this because this might be a crime.
Right.
Because even what he came to me about wasn't even a crime.
Right.
Like, it's still not a crime if you're not under arrest to run away from all. Like, he didn't even, I wasn't even stopped.
Right.
To run away from, it's maybe suspicious if I say stop and a person runs.
Right.
I'm not even running from a stop. But it's also the idea, oh, there may be a guy I got to get.
Mm-hmm.
I got to win. I got to get these guys. These guys are out here.
Mm-hmm. Not on my watch.
It was so bright. It was the morning of school. What could I have why would I need to run from? I could have just kept walking. I didn't even need to run. Even if I was trying to get away from you, I could have turned away.
Right.
I could have just turned away. I'm not running away from you. Everybody, just people, at least understand that there are black men who jog.
Right.
Now, granted, maybe he was like, he's big. He probably isn't jogging. And then listen, but think of, in all real shit, I didn't jog after that.
Right.
I felt some type of way going out in my community.
Like
I did not feel safe. And there was nights that I jogged.
Mm-hmm.
There was nights that I jogged, and I could only imagine what that could have transpired to. But I did not feel safe jogging after that in a very nice community just to run in.
Right.
That's an idea of anxiety that people live with. No, there was no gun pulled on me. No, there was no handcuffs. But what if I didn't have my ID?
Right.
What if I told them I didn't want to give my ID?
Right.
I'm forced to comply for something that was already wrong. Already wrong. But we got to live in this world where we have to comply to even policies that are wrong. We've got to live with this bias, and we got to live with this anxiety, and people just act like it's okay and like there's no long-term effects. And as simple as my shit was, I made it home. Some motherfuckers who were just out being don't make it home.
Right.
These kids didn't make it fucking home.
Exactly.
They made it to jail. Their life was turned around by someone's bias, someone's fuck up. The stakes are too high for us to take this shit lightly. They're too high. They're too fucking high to take this shit lightly. And everybody's on their mental health journey. Understand that. If you've never experienced that, and it's even outside of color, people are living with anxiety. And it's one of the worst ones is, imagine if your anxiety was your parent. Imagine if you were scared of your parent, the person you're supposed to trust. Mm-hmm. These police are the extension of that. Like your teacher. You're supposed to be safe at school. And you're not safe there. You're supposed to be safe in the presence of a police officer, but you're not safe.
Right.
Or feeling that you're potentially safe. And there's not enough police officers doing enough to change that feeling. Doing enough. There's some doing, but a lot of them aren't doing enough. They're just Diet Coke. Mm-hmm. They're not Sprite. They're Diet Coke. Everybody's Coke. They're Diet Coke. Coke probably won't support this podcast because we're connecting them to police brutality. But fuck it. Fuck it.
But I think that one of the ways, again, like I said before, especially in New York, and I know you know New York,
yeah,
there are too many police officers assigned to precincts. They have absolutely no clue what the neighborhood is,
the culture, anything. What people do.
And I feel like that's one of the things where you really, as a police officer, should be hands on. Like my biggest thing is, especially walking around New York, I hate the idea of not being able to say hello or not being greeted, or like, how are you part of this community where you're alienating yourself, like, most of the time?
Yeah.
So, I mean, I think that's just how it is at the end of the day, where you can easily build through the community. We've seen these videos where they know the police officer's name. He comes around all the time, and they have some rapport. But like, to not have that, at this point, like, oh no, well, we're just patrolling. That's what we do. Like, the job isn't like that.
No.
You can have more people on your side if you connect with them rather than have everyone against you. And that's just how it is at the end of the day. But that's the life that we live. The social and cultural anxiety we're gonna always keep, and I always try to make sure that I can make sure my son doesn't have that at the end of
Yes.
the day. Like,
That's our goal.
yeah,
And even that's why we're having this conversation. That's why Ava DuVernay is making this movie. And that's why we're extending the extension of her movie to having these conversations, because we want more of these conversations. And we want to continue this conversation on social media with you guys.
Yes.
If you want to unpack your feelings that you experienced while watching this, listen, we want to do something different. Unpack your feelings. Send us a 1-minute video to our Instagram.
Yes.
To our Instagram, Cannon's Podcast. Send it to our Instagram, DM us, and we're just going to have a conversation about what's going on in our society. Because silence is compliance.
Right.
And if we are silent, then we're just silently complying. And when we use our voice, we can affect change. When we use simple things like a phone and a computer and microphones, we can affect change. And we've seen it happen. We want it to continue to happen. But before we close out,
yes,
I just want to say the gentlemen names that were truly affected by this tragedy. We don't have their family names, but it was Antron McCray, Kevin Richardson, Yusef Salam, Raymond Santana, and Corey Wise. We just send you love, brothers, as you go on your mental health journey. We send love out to your family, and we thank you for your bravery and your ability to tell your story in many ways in the book that you wrote, in the documentary that came out, and being able to speak with Ava so that they can make an accurate depiction of that moment. And you guys are amazing for just being here, just surviving. The mental fortitude that it took to survive your experiences. Most people would be broken. And I just want to give you big ups on your mental health journey and you becoming a better you. I'm No Justin, No Peace.
I'm Lou Rivers.
This was the Loose Cannons Podcast. Thank you guys for sitting down with us. This is another one in the books, episode 14, When They See Us, Ava DuVernay. See you guys on the next one. Peace.
Peace.